I've never really considered myself smart in a way, like academic smart, but I've always had a massive desire to be successful. And I think that matters more than being smart. You don't need to be special or extremely smart or academic to be successful.
Are you content in your business? I'm Si McMahon, and I'm on a mission to help business leaders and brand owners succeed through sharing stories, advice, and inspiration. This is the Content in Business podcast. Hey everyone, quick message. Something that comes up time and time again in my interviews with people is how important but how difficult marketing is. So we've created a scorecard that evaluates your digital marketing, gives you a unique score, and provides advice on how you can improve. You can get it today. It's completely free, and it's at playfairmarketing.com/marketing score. We'll link to it in the episode notes as well. Now, on with the show. In this episode, I speak to James Nesbitt from Myth Digital, a software development agency in Belfast, Northern Ireland. James is a perfect example of knowing when you're an expert in something and when you're not an expert in something, and knowing when to lean into your value or your business's value and then outsource to experts when it comes to functions that aren't core to your business. In my final question, he really opens up about following your passion and following your value and really leaning into what makes you unique. So here's James Nesbitt from Myth Digital. Welcome to the show, James.
Great. No, listen, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Thanks. Thanks for joining. And tell us about Myth and tell us about how you got started and how it's been going to date.
Yeah, sure. So business was started the idea was conceptually born in 2010 with the name of Myth Studio, I guess. I've always been sort of originally into web design and web development, sort of where I started my career. Worked for agencies in Belfast for several years, and then decided to take a leap, I guess, in 2015. Started to get the business set up, started to get some initial clients whilst working on the side. And that was really the infancy, I guess. We incorporated in 2016 with an initial client base. I left my last job, and it was really started as a freelancer business with aspiration to always be bigger. Funny because I always had the idea to be sort of 4 to 5, always a small, tight team. And I'll get into where we're sitting now, but it shows that just in a number of years, how things can easily change, in a matter of months, how things can change, never mind years. But so the business started in 2016 with a few initial sort of freelance clients, working primarily around sort of 2016 to 2018 with a partnership in the US. In fact, I'd say probably 60% of our client base back between 2016 and 2018 were US based. So that helped us really grow our client base. We never really wanted to focus in on Northern Ireland as a demographic, because it's such a small place. We always wanted to branch out, look at the UK, look at ROI, look at the US, and that partnership just sort of landed on our feet. So we took the opportunity. So beyond that, then we sort of moved into Belfast city centre and got a bigger office, and always had aspirations, as I said, to be a bigger agency. Obviously, sort of 2019, 2020, COVID had hit. We were a team of 2 then, and was myself and a designer / developer. And whenever COVID hit, unfortunately, that didn't work out. So it was back down to 1. And at that stage, I made the bizarre decision, considering the workload that we had on, to bring in a non-technical hire. It was more of a commercial hire. Jen, who has been fantastic from day one and has really helped transform the business. And I think that was a decision on my part to make a non-technical decision in a technical business, to bring somebody in on the commercial end. But that has really helped, and has really sort of helped us grow and helped us with our commercial plans and our strategies, and not just focused on design and development, which, yes, is our core offering, but it's not the business side at the end of the day. So we spent the past sort of 4 to 5 years really trying to build the team out. focusing more in Belfast and less in the States, just to grow our local presence. And yeah, we're now sitting at a 12-person team, and we have a group of designers, developers, and myself, thankfully, now sit more on the commercial end, less on the actual development end, which is my background. And I think a lot of that sort of has been finding the right people and finding the right culture, setting up processes, trying to build efficiencies in the team. And I think it's really helped, I guess, with finding the right team. Trying to find the right team is always the challenging part. And I think we've done a really good job of that. And we've got a really good team of good guys who enjoy working together. And we work in the office 3 days a week, 2 days at home. And again, that has really helped our culture. I think a lot of companies were quick to dive into fully remote. We were one of the local, I guess, agencies that sort of stood our ground on that. Even though we were getting people coming in through the door saying, I want to work remote, we were pretty firm on 3 days in office, 2 days at home. And yeah, it's really helped us through the years to build that culture.
Mm. I think the hybrid model, I think, is the way forward. That flexibility. I think staff appreciate the flexibility in terms of work-life balance. Mm-hmm. But I think also a massive important part of, say, what we do is you need focus when people are writing copy, when people are deep in editing, when people are coming up with ideas, sometimes, having to sit on their own and focus. Having the ability to be in your own space, not have distractions around you, I think is massively beneficial. And then equally, you can't have it all way. I think you've got to be able to then be able to get together and have conversations, come up with ideas together, and or review projects together, and have that person to person, face to face interaction. So I think I absolutely agree. The hybrid model for me is definitely the right way forward.
It is, and I didn't even explain in that whole intro about what we actually do. I said we started off as a web design company. That is true, but over the past sort of 4 years, we've transformed completely into a software development company, a mobile app development company. That's our bread and butter now, and we do less, probably 10% of web stuff these days. We primarily focus on complex software, and that ranges from working with startups to build an MVP, the whole way up to enterprise level software, which we're building at the moment. You can't do that whilst everyone's working from their bedrooms. It's extremely challenging to have cross-team collaboration, in very complex projects where there's thousands upon thousands of moving parts that all need to click together. Otherwise, something doesn't work. So, trying to message someone on Slack to say, this doesn't work is much more challenging to speak across the table and have cross-team collaboration internally. So I definitely think the hybrid has really worked for us, and it's here long-term for us, I guess. We find that a lot of agencies are actually struggling to bring their employees back to the office. So I'm glad we stuck to our guns on that. Yeah.
Just going back to what you said about, bringing in a commercial focused hire and a non-technical hire. I think for me, that's incredibly insightful, because there's so many of us get wrapped up in our own world, in what we do. We're the experts in what we do, and it's then very easy to assume that other people are as well. And so when you're talking to potential clients, it's really easy to get swept up in the technicalities and start talking jargon and acronyms, and marketing is horrendous for that. But so being having someone in the team that is kind of that in between, that gateway, who can take the technical side and actually make it more, not only make it more understandable and communicate it better, and more simply to potential clients, but then also to commercialize it better. Because again, from, a lot of technical background individuals don't have that commercial experience, and there's passion projects that might not necessarily be commercial. I think that's a really great shout to do that. And you can see that that's clearly had a positive effect on the business.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the stage when I made that decision, I'm sort of I'm sort of technical, but also commercial. And at the stage we were at, I was so deep in development and so deep in trying to actually work on client projects that the bigger picture and the strategic direction of the business is often lost when you're in the weeds of actually doing the work. And I do think that's where a lot of small businesses get caught up. They struggle to make a decision, especially at those very early stages when it's a massive leap to actually going from 1 to 2, from 2 to 4. Those making a decision on who should I bring in is a very challenging decision. And at that stage, it would have been much, much easier for me to say, well, actually, we have a lot of client work. Why don't I bring in a developer or a designer or somebody to actually do the work? So making a decision to bring in somebody who can sit strategically aligned with my vision and somebody who can drive that whilst I am in the weeds was the game changer for us. And it really did help. It helped free up my time ultimately, because working with that person was able to drive some of the strategic decisions and bring in more work, which helped us then free up capital and cash flow to look for more employees. So it's a really tough decision at those early stages to make, but trying to almost go outside your comfort zone and try to make decisions which aren't the obvious decisions that you would think they are, is sometimes the better choice to make.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of points there that the first thing is to, it takes humility to admit, okay, I'm not an expert in this, or I'm not, I've not got experience of this. I need to bite the bullet and I need to get in someone who is. That definitely takes a bit of humility, especially, when your business is your baby and you kind of got the reins on everything, but you end up becoming everybody. You end up doing every single role in the business. And again, it's very easy to get swept up in that. And burnouts and things like that. So definitely there's a level of humility there. But I think also it's an interesting take on how things normally go, actually, in terms of as you want to grow your business, as you bring in people, generally there's this whole thing about, founders not being able to let go of the detail, and to hand it to other people because they need to run the business. So they need to actually give the work in the detail to other people. But actually what you're saying is you did the opposite almost. You kind of, you brought in somebody to help to grow the business at a different level while you were in that situation, still doing the detail work. And I guess the decision you had to make was if you're going to bring in one person, what's it going to be? I wonder, was there a thought process that you went through there to kind of go, I could go this direction or I could go that direction? What's the benefits versus the risks?
Yeah, I think the opportunity was on the table, and I almost seen a pattern that I was getting swept up in so much of I call it in the weeds because I still get swept up sometimes in helping out. But you almost get swept up in, as you say, wearing every hat in the business that you can't even focus because you have no physical time. Like at that stage, you're working 80, 90 hours a week, not seeing your family, and you're not getting any opportunity to think about what is the broader picture here. And yes, bringing somebody in to focus on doing that, to free up your time, to look at the strategic direction of the business is one option. The other option is to have two heads, especially in a small business where you're constantly thinking of ideas alone and you can't bounce them off somebody else. So you're in a position where you're trying to move the business forward, but swept up in your own thinking. Whereas having another person who's sitting there at the table to bounce ideas off and work strategically together on, if you can do the work yourself and to keep you going at a slower pace, ultimately it will free up time eventually when you bring more work in and when you release cash flow to look at additional bums on seats. So it can work either way, but I guess it was the right decision at the time and it worked out for us.
Mm. What do you think is some of the factors that have but outside of obviously what we've already talked about that have brought the business to where it is today, what is it that you do different or particularly well that has shaped the business?
Yeah, I mean, our USP always has been wrapping strong design around reliable development. There's a lot of agencies that will either focus on one or the other, and I guess a lot of the work that we do is technical, but trying to wrap good user experience around that has always been our key goal and always been our USP. And I think that our work itself and the quality of our work, I guess, has definitely helped us from a growth perspective. But I think some of the other areas is investing in ourselves in a sense that we invested heavily in SEO work, or SEO. We invested heavily in SEO consulting, I guess. We brought in consulting experts for content writing, for backlinking, and we spent a significant amount of time just optimizing our website and for growth, and it really did pay off. I mean, we are top for most of our rankings in and around Northern Ireland and on ROI actually for mobile app development, software development. So that was a key decision that has definitely helped us in the longer term. I mean, it's an investment that isn't cheap, but it's an investment that you got to make at some time to help with those marketing efforts. Being lean throughout as well has been key, of course. Trying to make sure you're looking at the numbers on a weekly basis, making sure you're not overspending on things that you shouldn't be, has definitely helped us. But there's a lot of factors that the team, of course, as well. The team and finding the right team members has definitely been a key factor in our growth.
The example of knowing where you are experts and where you're not experts there, and knowing, okay, when it comes to, like you say, SEO, marketing, content, when you're when you know that you've got to invest in that area, again, it's very, very easy to kind of say, oh, well, we'll try and do that ourselves. We'll try and get by. And ultimately you end up with half a job, or a poor person's version of what you really should be doing or really want to be doing. So again, it's another bold decision. And again, it's another kind of act of, self-awareness, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I'd like to be able to do all this stuff, but I'm one person.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of, smaller businesses, I guess, struggle. They struggle with trying to do everything. And it's funny because I just opened a cafe locally with my wife-to-be recently, and she's starting to now get involved in, this is actually a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I've got to worry about routers, I've got to worry about finance, I've got to worry about all this stuff that you didn't think was even in the background. And it's often, where a lot of small businesses struggle because they are very good at this particular thing, but they don't realize that there's all of this other stuff around the edges that you got to maintain to run a business. Yeah.
You just want to dive in and do the good stuff. It's like, I didn't sign up for all this. So what's the big vision for the business?
Big vision. So as I said, the aspiration for the business originally was always to be a 4 to 5 person agency, to keep things small, to focus on quality, focus on output, and just to do a really good job for our clients. That's still the aspiration, but on a bigger scale. I don't think we ever aspire to be a 50 person agency. We're sitting at 12 now. I don't really see us growing too much in terms of people. I see us. What I want for the agency is to be the destination agency, and we keep talking about that internally, because what I mean by that is we want clients to want to work with us, and we're already starting to see that. People, we have clients coming out to us now, and based on referrals, quite a lot of referrals, which is good to see, because I think that's key to us. The SEO efforts that we put in were for organic leads, to generate organic leads, but ultimately what we want to do is do a good job of those projects, bringing in further projects based on referrals. So I think to be the destination agency on the island of Ireland is what we're aspiring to be. And definitely we're well known locally, and we're we're well known for doing quality work. So keeping that up, I suppose, is the aspiration, doing good quality work for our clients and ensuring that they get good value from our services. Continuing to hire good people. I suppose I would probably see, we've spoke in depth about this, we almost see ourselves being a 50 to 20 person agency, 15 to 20 person, should I say, 15 to 20 person agency. And I think that's it. Being the destination agency, I think being able to manage additional workload and additional capacities are key focus at the moment, because we're very busy and we only have enough people in the organisation. So I think probably the next 24 months to us will be increasing efficiencies in the business, increasing our count a little bit to help with extra capacity, and ultimately to hopefully be that destination agency for the clients we want to work with. I don't think, we ever want to niche. We've tried before to look at niching, to working potentially just with startups or just with SMEs. And we have always resisted that urge because we enjoy the work. We enjoy the diversity in our work and our client base. So to be the destination agency across the island of Ireland that companies do want to work with, and be in a position where we will continue to work with startups on MVPs, because we find that we enjoy that type of work. We enjoy startup concept work. We enjoy working with startups to help grow their business, but we also enjoy working with SMEs, and we have worked with global brands as well. So trying to keep that diversity in our client base is key to the longevity of the business, in my opinion.
What do you see as the challenges going forward?
The challenges for us have always been the same. We struggle to articulate, and have always struggled to articulate, what actually custom software development is. A lot of businesses don't realize they need it. They struggle to grasp the concept of what software can do for their business. And a lot of them are more inclined to go off the shelf, and 100% that's a viable option in a lot of scenarios. We would actually recommend clients look to off the shelf to solve their solutions first, instead of investing heavily in custom software, because it is a heavy investment. But I think that's going to be a continued evolvement for ourselves to try and articulate our service offering in the best way possible for those businesses that need us. I think startups are an easy catch-all because they have a concept to build a product, and the product is their business. So they come to the likes of ourselves for a partnership to help them build that. Whereas SMEs are more inclined to go to something off the shelf. So I think that is a challenge. I think we always have been, and hopefully I'm going to change that soon, but we've always been very bad at talking about ourselves. It's just not in our nature. I think that stems from the top. I'm not very good at talking about myself, and I think that's followed through into the organization, which isn't a good thing. So I think trying to be a bit more vocal about ourselves, be more active in social media, and I think that's a struggle that all businesses have, trying to keep and maintain a good social profile and a good and a good PR across the board. I suppose that's something we need to invest in, and take me out of that seat probably, because I'm no good at it. Capacity and resources are probably going to be a key challenge as well. We're struggling internally with capacity on a regular basis. So trying to increase the capacity in the business. But we're in that service-based loop where, making a decision to bring more people in is challenging when you need more work in. So it's trying to figure out when is the right time to bring more people in, and when's the right time to make that jump. Particularly in a non-recurring revenue organization where we rely heavily on project to project. And we have recurring revenue, of course, in our support agreements, but primarily our main revenue comes from project development. So that's always a challenge with ourselves, because we need to bring in projects to manage cash flow. So I suppose that will be the challenge in getting there.
I mean, you've mentioned marketing. It comes up time and time again. As the one of the biggest parts of business in terms of the time, effort, investment, team size, if it's internal, and also one of the most critical, because like you say, that awareness. Without it, everything becomes a lot more difficult. I think, with the whole kind of talking about yourselves, I think it's definitely, as a service business, you focus on doing great work for your clients. That's the business. That's what you're good at. We're the same, and we're a marketing company. Playfair is a marketing company, and we have found it very, very difficult to market ourselves. 90% of the marketing companies out there will say the same, because they're too busy, doing it for other people. It's like, if you're a software engineer and you're, writing and creating software all day, you don't want to go home and really do it as a bit of a hobby, for fun or something like that. You want to kind of do something different, so it's a bit difficult to like go, okay, now I'm going to do this for myself as well.
Yeah, exactly. We joke about that internally because we've been writing our own software to manage projects for 4 years now. And it just doesn't get done because you're focused constantly on client delivery and trying to get swept up in that. So it's something we've always struggled with, in terms of talking about ourselves and just getting our name out there. But I suppose you got to do it, and that it's a part of that. It's part of the. It's part of it.
You talked about SEO, the efforts that you've put there and the investment that you've done there doing well. What other aspects of marketing have you found have worked well for you in the past?
So we actually brought a marketing consultant in, a very good marketing consultant, and we worked with him for 6 weeks on teasing out the organization, teasing out a plan. And he came up with this fantastic plan that was a flywheel effect plan. It was just a loop that we would continually do it. And it would tick all the boxes in terms of what we're trying to do. And it was exactly what we needed. Have we implemented it? No. Have we even tried to implement it? Unfortunately not. We haven't just had the time to even look at that. And I think that's key to it all. Trying to come up with a manageable and realistic plan to your marketing efforts is key, because you can often just feel extremely overwhelmed by, as we talked about earlier, the amount of hats that you got to wear on a daily basis. And in an organization where there's 12 of us, but only 2 of us are not sitting in that, or sitting in the strategic direction and not sitting in the technical direction. You've got 2 people basically to drive that. And one of them people is myself, who's trying to do a lot of other things. So it's extremely challenging to try and come up with a strategic marketing plan that is realistic, that requires input from the team. And I think that's definitely was a challenge that came out of that. As part of that process, I mentioned earlier about trying to niche down. As part of that process, we actually come out of that process niching to working only with startups, which was interesting because we then went out to Philadelphia in the States, and that was part of our initial offering of trying to niche to startups. And we met with and held a talk out there. Actually, we met with a lot of startup accelerators, and we had this grand idea of working with startups only. And then we got back and realized that the startup space in Belfast and Northern Ireland alone is quite small, and we didn't have the effort or the capacity to be in the States all the time to be working with these startups. So it was, again, also we didn't just want to work with startups because we had a client base with of SMEs. So we've tried a lot of things, I suppose, is where I'm going around circles, because we've tried a lot of things, and really the only thing that's stuck with us has been our SEO efforts, and putting a lot of time and money into investing in that. I mean, that really significantly has helped our growth over the past 24 months.
It definitely sounds like it's had a strong effect, and definitely on the right path with strategizing, because it's like that's another mistake that many make, is just going at it. Okay, we just got to start making some stuff, and it's scattergun, it's not thought through, and it's got no action or desired effect, but it's ultimately got to be a commercial function. So, the big mistake is skipping that step.
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to get stuck in. Sometimes it's the right time just to go, you know what, we just got to do something. And we talk about that internally a lot. I am the bottleneck a lot of the times internally when it comes to actually talking about ourselves, because I want everything to be perfect. Anything that goes out about myth, I want to be perfect. And it doesn't need to be. It really doesn't. It can be as raw as you need it to be. And sometimes being raw is better. Whereas I want all of this curated content plan sorted. I want a 2-month plan that on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. this goes out and it's designed and it looks amazing and everyone loves it. Because really, do people care? I don't know. A lot, 90% of them probably don't care what it looks like. But sometimes you got to just get something out there and just get it done.
Well, if you don't, then you'll never know anyway. Yeah, that's exactly the thing. So what would be the one piece of advice that you would give to another business owner? Or just generally someone in your position?
I suppose one thing that I've always struggled with is on a personal level, I suppose, is self-sabotage to a certain extent. I've never really considered myself smart in a way, like academic smart. But I've always had a massive desire to be successful. And I think that matters more than being smart. You don't need to be special or extremely smart or academic to be successful. And I think a lot of people do struggle in my position where they maybe don't think that they're good enough to start a business and to be very successful in the business, when actually all it takes is you to be extremely passionate about what you're doing, to be to have a burning desire to be successful, and a fire in your belly just to go after something and get it done. And I think those are the key skills that actually make a good entrepreneur, not being academic or smart or coming out of an extremely top university in London. It's about working hard and about having the desire. And if you do all of those things, when things don't go right, as long as you can tell yourself that this will work and you will continue to do this and it will continue to improve, it'll improve. We've been in some really, sort of struggling times over the past 6 years. And one thing that kept us going would be that I just, in my head, this was never failing and I would figure it out one way or another. And if you have that desire and you have that passion and you have that fire in your belly, it'll work.
I think being smart enough to know what your passion is and what your real value is, having that desire, and then just giving it your all, giving it everything that you've got, and doing yourself justice in terms of what you do. I 100% agree. I love that, because I just think that's all you need. That's all you need.
That's it. Yeah, you'll figure the rest out if you have that.
Yeah, my daughter, she's 13. Obviously, not long now until she starts getting into exam territory and all that. She's obviously attending school each week, doing the homework, doing tests here and there. And the only thing I'll ever say is, did you try your best? Did you prepare? Did you work hard? She comes home and gets a bad score. Well, if you can say to me, yes, I put in the effort, I did the revision, I did the work, I did the prep, and I gave it full focus in the test or the exercise or whatever, what more can you ask for? And what will be, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do well in that subject or that subject, but you will do well in the thing that you are in your core good at. And sometimes that is not a school subject. Sometimes that is not not even a job. It is. So many people that have failed in school, failed as an employee, and then absolutely exploded as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I left school at 16 with no academic results at all, and I just worked hard, and I knew deep down that I could be successful if I worked hard. And I also always caveat working hard with, you don't need to work 100 hours a week. I know that you're going to listen to Gary Vee and Elon Musk and say you've got to work 100 hours a week and not see your family. You don't need to do that. In fact, that's the opposite. I done that for a year and a half and was miserable. I think you got to have like a work life. And I think Jeff Bezos that said this, work-life harmony. I think he said he doesn't like work-life balance. He likes work-life harmony, because work-life harmony means that you're harmonious with your work life and your home life. And if you're happy at your home life, you're happy in your work. If you're happy in your work, you're happy at home. So I think that's very key. You can work hard, but you don't got to work 100 hours a week to be successful.
No, 100%, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I think it's Cal Newport who did a number of studies, or referred to a number of studies that just actually prove that humans are happier when we're working. It just depends on what we're working on.
Yeah, exactly.
You think about playing guitar or building Lego or something. It's work of sorts. People might call it a hobby, but it's taxing on the brain, and it's exercising the various muscles or whatever. It's work. It's just work that you choose rather than that you subscribe.
So many entrepreneurs try to find the next big thing that's a quick bit of cash, and doing that and not being passionate about it is not going to bring you far. It's not going to have that. You're not going to have that desire, that passion to do and go after it. And when things go bad, to be able to lift yourself up and grab it and keep it moving forward. It's not about finding this get rich quick scenario. It's about finding something you're passionate about and want to go after. And regardless of what that is, it could be, as you say, picking up a guitar. It could be as simple as something like that.
Absolutely. Well, look, this has been a fantastic conversation, James. Thanks for telling us the story. There's been lots of good tips and good inspirational bits of advice in there as well. And obviously, thank you so much for, quite a raw answer at the end as well, because, that it is massively important. And there's a lot of people out there who are, waiting to start or ready to start. Some who I've spoken to that have, listened to this podcast. And so again, it's good for them to hear these things, and see examples, and aspirations. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you very much for having me. Enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching and listening to Content in Business. Please rate this podcast, hit subscribe, and follow Si McMahon on social media to keep up with future episodes. The Content in Business podcast is produced by Playfair, helping you with high-performing social activity every single day. Want to boost your brand awareness, sales, and leads? Partner with Playfair. Find out more and book a call at playfairmarketing.com.